Cat, the mysterious guardian of the worlds. Cats are the most mysterious creatures on the planet. Many beliefs, secrets, and legends are associated with them all over the world. For example, almost the entire northern hemisphere is convinced that a black cat crossing the road is unfortunately, but in Australia it is believed that black cats bring good luck. On the contrary, a meeting with a white cat promises trouble. In Russia, they believe that the cat protects the house from evil spirits, and if it sneezes near the newlyweds during the wedding, the family will be strong. Kazakhs, on the contrary, did not allow the cat to a pregnant woman or young children. At the same time, the cat is the only animal that is allowed to enter the mosque. No animal causes such a diametrically opposite relationship to itself and does not have such a strange and mysterious reputation. What is it connected with, and what was the role of the cat in the life of nomads and other developed civilizations of antiquity? Where, how, and why were the cat domesticated? The fact is that people domesticated those animals which brought immediate benefits. The cat, in this sense, did not bring such tangible benefits after all. The most ancient totems of steppe inhabitants. There is completely different attitude to the cat in the nomadic civilization. What is the role of cats in the Kazakh epic? Cats connected the worlds. Incredible abilities, historical paradoxes, legends, myths, and scientific theories about cats. Watch all this right now. Since ancient times, people attributed magical abilities to cats. They were associated with gods, witches, and witchcraft. I do not believe in mysticism, but behold, it seemed interesting to me to study the history of cats to understand the myths that are associated with these animals. My name is Andrei Slozhin, it is the Time Puzzle, and today we will sort it out together. Is cat magic real, or is it not? The history of mankind is inextricably linked with animals, which for centuries have been close to people. Because when our ancient ancestors, thousands of years ago, began to take their first independent steps towards civilized life, they needed helpers. They did not appear immediately. The process of domestication lasted hundreds of years. But in the end, in the course of domestication, a man had horses, dogs, large and small cattle. Cats also were in this list. But the curious fact is that the cat is not comparable to the horse and the dog. Moreover, the cat breed is not distinguished by either loyalty or special affection for people. And in general, the main epithets that describe this animal are independence, mystery, and cunning. This is evidenced by numerous legends and myths of the peoples of the world. A literary expert and mythology expert, Valeria Korotkova, believes that such a reputation for cats is well-deserved. The fact is that cats are capable of gaming behavior. They're funny. It is very interesting to watch them. They're very inquisitive and active, capable of inappropriate, from our point of view, actions. And at the same time, we must not forget that the cat is a lonely predator. Moreover, its predatory behavior is so strong that even a domestic cat returning to the wild is able to remember their hunting instincts. It will survive in the wild. According to historians, the first successful attempts to domesticate this animal were undertaken in ancient Egypt. This is evidenced by the image on one of the Egyptian tombs, which approximately relates to 1950 BC. On the mural, the cat looks at the rat. However, later, new information appeared when, in 2004, archaeologists discovered a grave aged 9,500 years old in Cyprus, where the remains of a cat were found with the deceased. Thus, the Middle East is now considered to be the birthplace of domestic cats. Socioanthropologist, UNESCO expert on the tangible cultural heritage, Yafrat Imambek, assured that since ancient times, there was a special relationship to cats.
Кошка – это домашнее животное, и, вероятнее всего, одно из первых.
The cat is a pet, and most likely one of the first to be domesticated by man.
Кошка была одомашнена не на просторах Евразии.
But apparently, the cat was not domesticated in the expanses of Eurasia. The most ancient cult of the cat exists in Egypt.
В Египте мы знаем, что
We know that in the paintings of the pyramids, on the frescoes, there are images of cats.
кошка
And the cat was worshipped in the Mediterranean civilizations precisely as a holy animal. For a long time, researchers could not establish which particular member of the feline family is the ancestor of the domestic cat. Only in the beginning of the 21st century, in the course of a genetic study, scientists managed to find out that all maternal domestic cats originate from at least 5 subspecies of the steppe cat that still live in the steppe, desert, and mountainous regions of Africa and Central Asia, in northern India, Transcaucasia, and Kazakhstan. However, the scientists were faced with another question: why, in fact, it was necessary to tame a cat.
Вы понимаете, какая загадочная история с кошками? Дело в том, что люди одомашнивали животных, те, которые приносили...
It is quite unclear. The fact is that people domesticated those animals, which brought immediate benefits.
Она была необходима на охоте.
We know the dog was guarding the dwelling and it was necessary on the hunt.
Скот, они давали
Horses carried weight, while animals and livestock, they gave food.
необходимой пользы.
The cat, in this sense, did not bring such tangible benefits after all. Nevertheless, people, even at the dawn of their history, gave a portion to the cats from their scanty diet, from their food, which was limited to them. So, cats were important to them. Most likely, first the ancestors of the domestic cat themselves began to come to human habitation, around which, as usual, there were mice and rats, which the cats hunted, thereby unwittingly helping people. People noticed this and deliberately began to feed the cats so that they would return as often as possible and not be afraid of people. Probably such a symbiosis further led to the fact that people began to keep cats in their homes as full-fledged pets.
Если говорить о мифологиях, конечно, в мифологиях, прежде всего, Восток.
If we talk about mythologies, of course, cats are sacred in Oriental mythology because it is believed that cats have spread their distribution from the East. It was from those areas where agriculture originated.
Проблема сохранения.
And it is clear that there was the problem of preserving grain stocks from rodents. Therefore, for example, in Egypt, the main wealth of Egypt was wheat, grain, as we know. There, cats were literally deified.
Там кошки обожествляют.
And we see that in ancient Egyptian mythology, the cat carried uniquely positive symbolism.
Символику.
A temple was built for them, with the goddess of cats, Bast. The priests looked after the cats living in the temple. Their duties included feeding the animals, cleaning up after them, and also the most pleasant thing, to stroke them. It was such an honorable job that not everybody was honored, and as a rule, the position was inherited from father to son. The cats were so highly exalted by the Egyptians that they even wrote laws for their sake. So killing a cat was punished with a penalty, and a huge fine was imposed for mockery of animals.
Была богиня-кошка, Баст или Бастет.
There was a cat goddess, Bast or Bastet. She was depicted as a woman with a cat head. She was the goddess of fun and music. She was depicted with a sistrum, a musical instrument, in her hands. She was considered the guardian of the people, that is, the carrier of humane beginnings, and sometimes they even depicted Ra in the form of a red cat. He, as a cat, fought with his underground serpent, Apopus.
Уважение и любовь к кошкам у египтян были настолько велики, что однажды это сыграло против них.
Respect and love for the cats of the Egyptians was so great that once it played against them. In 525 BC, the Persian king Camby II conquered Egypt thanks to the cats.
Кошек в Египте. Поэтому приказал своим...
He learned about the cult of cats in Egypt, so he ordered his soldiers to tie these animals to their shields. Of course, the Egyptians surrendered almost without a fight because they could not harm these animals. Cambyses appreciated such love and devotion to cats and forbade his warriors to rob cities, kill people, and rape women. Thus, on the one hand, the cats became the cause of the defeat of the Egyptians, and on the other, saved thousands of lives. Historians know for sure about the contacts of the Egyptians and Greeks in antiquity, which began in the 7th century BC during the Said period. In addition to trade, there was, of course, cultural exchange. However, Greeks didn't share Egyptians' passion for cats. We know that the ancient Greeks did not keep cats at home at all. Weasels performed mouse-catching functions. We know, for example, that the ancient Greek mythology ignored the domestic cat somehow. That is, there are cats so-called felines, that is, large predatory cats, lions, leopards. They were attributes of such goddesses as Aphrodite, for example, or Artemis. However, soon the cool attitude of the Greeks to domestic cats changed, literally to the cat's boom. According to historians, this was facilitated by the Phoenician traders who began to bring rat-catching cats to Greece. The price for one such cat could reach the cost of 7 strong slaves. However, historians are amazed that cats almost did not appear in ancient Greek myths and poems. One of the few remaining descriptions of cats in ancient Greek literature was made by Aesop. He wrote a fable about a cat who wanted to eat a rooster, but could not find a weighty excuse for this, and, as a result, ate it for no reason. Later, Krylov rewrote this fable. Only a wolf appeared in it instead of a cat. But the Greeks are not the only people who held cats, but treated them without any respect. Nomads also knew about these animals, but how did the Kazakhs treat them? And is there a place for a cat in the Kazakh epic? There is completely different attitude to the cat in the nomadic civilization. We can trace it, well, firstly, of course, by intangible cultural heritage, I mean, in the epic. A cat is practically not mentioned in the Kazakh traditional epic. It is neither mentioned, as far as I know, in the epos of the Siberian Turks. Therefore, the status of a domestic cat in a nomadic culture is much lower than other domestic animals. So generally, the attitude towards cats among the Kazakhs and nomads was negative. There are superstitions associated with cats. For example, newlyweds shouldn't pet a cat until they had children. The Kazakhs believe that the cat takes all the caress to itself and thus prevents the birth of the baby.
Из всего того огромного, несколько десятков тысяч поговорок, пословиц.
Among the several tens of thousands of sayings and proverbs that are associated only with animals, there is very little mention of cats.
Не называют, не дают кошкам имена. Вот у собак есть имена Байгаска.
Kazakhs never gave names to cats. The dogs had names: Байгаска, Jasternak, Jazbalak, Aktos, Aktus. Those are white fang, white chest, fast legs, brass claw, and so on. Horses also had names, but a cat was just Mysik. They called cats like Mish, 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 and that's all. A cat has no name. Moreover, in the Kazakh language, there are phraseological units where the word Mysik, a cat, is used in a negative aspect. Mysik tileo, the male factor. Sutke tien Mysik tai, with a guilty look. Mysik bolde, retreated, ran away. Mysik tande, toady. Coming up next, who did the nomads admire in the cat family? Some information about the attitude of the Kazakhs to cats, which I was able to find, can be attributed to the period of the 12th, 15th centuries. And what attitude to these animals had the more ancient people who lived on the territory of modern Kazakhstan? To find the answer to this question, we went to Kairat Janabayev, a candidate of philological sciences and an expert on Kazakh mythology. Cats are one of the most ancient, most archaic totemic cults because nomads associated power, mind, flexibility, cunning, relationships between other people with cats, lions, lynxes, and other predatory animals. Cat is a symbol of survival. With cats, with their, well, not with cunning, but with their unpredictability, many Kazakhs' many elements, texts are connected with their unpredictability. The ancient inhabitants of the steppes describing their mythical heroes used zoomorphic images, that is, endowed the characters of the epic with the qualities of animals. These images can be divided into positive and negative. Positive, for example, a dog, a horse, as well as day and sun. Negative, night, winter, poisonous snake, and other animals that can cause harm to humans. Interestingly, the cat did not initially belong to either the first or the second category. It was a standalone character. They adopted the best qualities of this beast. This refers to cunning, grip, intelligence, ability to survive, and some purely mythological characters who adopted some features in the era of zoomorphism are, for example, Mistan Kemper, which has claws like a cat. And it says that it is related to the wild world and to the wild nature.
К дикому миру и к дикой природе и к моменту сохранения, потому что все кошки на самом деле.
Because all the cats, in fact, in the Turkic culture, in the Turkic mythology, they just show that balance in nature. A measure that people living in social conditions would not know.
Не знали вообще люди, живущие в социальных условиях.
As for the character Mistan Kemper, then initially, she was not a negative hero. It was Mother Nature who defended her possessions with all her strength, like the ancient Greek goddess of fertility, Demeter. When a person, say, a hunter, comes to kill an animal, then it is she who attacks him with cat's claws and tries to kill him. Why? Because in the natural world, everything was balanced, and the cat was the symbol of this balance. All animals, they are somehow reflected in mythology and in symbolism, because animals were always needed by man, and they either benefited a man or they were a threat to him, a danger. And depending on this, people endowed animals with certain qualities. In mythology, the cat is the intermediary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Shamans and Baksi in the Kazakh steppe often kept cats for the implementation of ceremonial practices. They believe that the cat has several lives that it needs in order to be present in three worlds at once: upper, lower, and the middle.
Согласно запискам путешественников,
according to the notes of travelers who visited the Kazakh steppes centuries ago, they encountered the tombs of shamans that were placed on trees, peculiar coffins suspended by chains. There is a version that the stories of such burials were later transformed into tales of Baba Yaga, which lives in a hut on chicken legs. Only now the word Baba initially meant not the old woman, but was pronounced like Baba, which in Turkish means honored. It is quite possible that cats that were the pets of shamans during their lifetime could sit on such coffins.
которые были домашними животными шаманов при жизни.
А вот уже в русской волшебной сказке это особый жанр.
As for the Russian fairy tale, this is a special genre that tells about the journey to the afterlife, and there, the cat appears as an ambivalent character. As a rule, it is an attribute of Baba Yaga. For example, in the fairy tale Vasilisa the Beautiful, when a girl comes not of her own will, but because her stepmother sent to her sister Baba Yaga, and there is a cat. And this cat helps the girl escape from the house of the Baba Yaga, just because the girl actually fed the cat, which is what Baba Yaga never did. And we see that the cat in fairy tales is the same ambivalent character as the Baba Yaga herself. That is, it can act as a pest, but it can also act as an assistant and advisor. Another well-known character in fairy tales is the cat Bayun. He's a guard on the border of two worlds who does not allow representatives of one world to enter another. He does not attack the traveler as, for example, the three-headed dog Cerberus in Greek mythology. Bayun kills his victim gently and gracefully, as a cat should.
Он
He
начинает...
begins to tell tales and plunges a character into a dream. A dream in mythology is the equivalent of death. If a character gives in to these fairy tales of the cat Bayun, it threatens him with the fact that he simply would not return from the world of the dead. The cat Bayun, such a humane killer, but not always humane, when we know that Ivan Tsarevich was given an order to go there, I don't know where, to the other world with the task, he puts on an iron cap on his head, and the object of the cat's aggression is, above all, his head. And when he defeated this cat, when he did not let the cat kill himself, he brought it to the king. And there we see the cat completely changed, became like completely opposite of himself before. He began to amuse and heal the king with his fairy tales. Nomads also had a similar guard on the border of the worlds. He guards the entrance to the kingdom of ancestors who dwell in heaven, and this is not exactly a cat, but its larger and predatory relative. In the Kazakh epic, it is considered the most pure animal, which in no case cannot be disturbed and moreover be killed.
Марс – это тотем из тотем.
Snow leopard is totem among totems, a much stronger totem than a wolf and even a golden eagle. It lives on such heights between snows, where trees do not grow, where even juniper does not grow, on the border of ice and sky. It barely touches the ground. The Nomads are ancestors. The Turks considered the snow leopard not just a heavenly animal on the border of this world and the upper world, probably, but they also considered it as the purest of wild animals. The evidence is provided by artifacts found on the territory of Kazakhstan by archaeologists. Leopard figurines made of gold. Nomads highly appreciated this noble metal and knew that it was not subject to environmental influences and time. In artifacts, in the most ancient of them, the Bronze Age, before the Bronze Age, 2 to 3 millennium, there is a leopard, images of leopards, moreover winged leopards. This is a mythical animal. During the study of the phenomenon of worship of the leopard, a curious question arose. If a leopard was so admired, considered the highest, the purest animal, then why so few legends, tales, and proverbs remain about it compared to, for example, a horse or a dog?
Барс – это исключительное животное.
Leopard is an exceptional animal because, firstly, because of its intimacy with people and because of its high mountains habitation. It lives in high mountains and is associated with the sphere of Tengri. They are, as it were, the keepers of these spirits, the keepers of some special places. There is a lot of sacred and mysterious in leopards' maculation, not just day and night. Kazakhs love transitions like that, namely the inaccessibility of mastering the leopard. Why there are few references to the leopard? Well, it is quite understandable. This is a super taboo. This is a super theme. This is a very respectful attitude. That's why. It was impossible to hunt a leopard and in general to disturb or take the cubs home. There was a belief that by killing or capturing this predatory cat, a person would anger the god Tengri himself because the leopard was his favorite creature. On this occasion, the Kazakhs have the legend. According to this legend, when Tengri created animals, he distributed lands among them. Someone got juicy meadows, someone dense forests, and he settled leopards next to him, on the mountain tops where there is only snow and stones. Then the female leopard asked Tengri how she would survive in such harsh conditions and how she would feed her offspring. Tengri answered her, in the year when she gets cubs, winter will have little snow and they will eat only fresh meat. Since then, the Kazakhs know that the years when snow leopards had cubs has the mildest winters and people can stay longer on Mountain Zhailau. As for the relationship to other large cats, there was no such taboo on the hunt. Kazakhs hunted a tiger which lived in Balkhash, and on the banks of the Sirdarya. They composed legends and told tales about this formidable predator. After all, there are more sayings about the tiger. You know that our remarkable archaeologist and restorer Krim Altenbekov restored this cape from the Bilai grave in the Bilai mound.
накидку из
and the decorations on it are arranged in the form of a tiger skin and stripes.
в форме тигра, шкуры тигра, полоска.
And there is a tiger. Of course, it is a symbol of great strength and power.
Большой силы, мощи.
The main motive of Kazakh tales, where the tiger appears, suggests that it is a ferocious beast, but you can always deceive it. Later, the tiger began to be considered an animal of exceptional strength. Still later, that the tiger is not only strong but also fair. Specialists in folklore associate such a transformation of the change in attitude towards the tiger with a gradual reduction of its population in the steppes.
Силу, красоту и мощь, и ярость кошек,
The strength, beauty, and power and the rage of cats, such as lions and leopards, were reflected, for example, in the poetry of Mahambet Utamisov. Turning to himself with the words of Isatai, he says, I Mahambet Joldas Joldasim, Ash Aristan Jolbarisim, which means, O noble Mahambet, my tiger, my hungry lion. So the most important characters of the ancient Turkic mythology of the archaic could be reflected in the image of the cat, and then later, when these cats and lions and tigers entered our epics. But not only the leopards, lions and tigers were awarded a place in the Kazakh epic, although not many, but there are mentions about cats. Moreover, they're endowed with no less sacred meaning.
Кошки играли роль связи миров, то есть это как бы они...
Cats played the role of the connection of worlds. They didn't just embody some kind of aristocracy, some kind of royalty, some kind of election, but in reality, they carried the access of some otherworldly knowledge.
потустороннего знания. Например, когда...
For example, when Koblan the Batar gets into a dungeon, then for the next 40 days, a cat brought his flat bread, but we understand that it was in Arwah, in the form of a cat. Moreover, it is a spotted cat. It is not white, not black, but spotted one. Therefore, this suggests that the cat has great totemic connections with leopards and tigers. Coming up next, cats, religions, and felinotherapy.
Отношение различных религий к кошкам...
The attitude of different religions to cats left a lot of evidence in history. For example, in the 13th century, Pope Gregory IX even issued a decree to mercilessly destroy these animals, since he considered them to be the product of the devil. There are evidences that even Inquisition courts were conducted on cats. Such persecution and extermination of animals soon yielded results. An epidemic of plague began in the Old World, during which 60 million people died. It all happened because of the extermination of cats. The number of rats increased, which very quickly spread the plague in the cities of Europe. However, such an pandemic plague has bypassed Asia and the East, and the cats played an important role in this. Galina Nikolenko, the president of Almaty Felinological Center, the planet of cats, is sure of that. When all these epidemiological disasters connected with rats and other nonsense happened, people realized that they can't solve this problem without a cat. Of course, there are dogs that hunt rats, but the cat, it apparently was created by God for this very purpose, and then the cat returned to its place. It wasn't deification, but a normal pedestal of an animal that is worthy of living at home and even on the streets. Why not? Because what will happen to our streets if there are no street cats? Unlike the Catholic Church, Islam did not attack cats. Moreover, there is a version that it was Islam that influenced the positive attitude towards these animals among other nations. Because Islam is very warm to cats. There is a famous hadith about the Prophet Muhammad who prayed, and at that time the cat fell asleep on his robe, and he cut off this piece of his robe so as not to wake the cat. The cat's name was Muiza. According to legend, it once saved the life of a prophet. A snake climbed into Muhammad's sleeve and wanted to sting him, but the cat killed the snake. No wonder that the attitude towards cats in Islam is so positive.
Кошка — единственное животное,
A cat is the only animal that is allowed to enter a mosque. It is interesting that in Orthodoxy, it's the same. The only animal that can enter an Orthodox church is a cat. It seems to me that here, there is a mutual influence of cultures and the most ordinary pragmatism, because always, some buildings, especially wooden ones, suffered from rats and mice, and therefore cats were the only means of protection. Gradually, the fear of cats was replaced by curiosity. This led to the fact that more and more lovers of these animals appeared in the world. Cats began to live at the European royal courts. Even in Armand Jean du Plessis, Duc de Richelieu, Cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church, had a cat. It is curious that having such a high spiritual dignity, Richelieu called his cat Lucifer. In Europe, cats became so popular that the Europeans were the first to breed the new breeds of cats. It first began in England at the end of the 19th century. The first exhibition at the Crystal Palace in London was when cats were first brought there. They were not yet pedigree in our understanding, but they were already selected for breeding signs. They were Angora and Persian cats. Persian cats, of course, they did not run through the streets. These were the cats that really were in Iran, in Persia of that time. The first cats they began to breed. And it was in England that philology originated as a science.
В Англии зародилась фелинология как наука.
A cat became associated with grace and affection. After thousands of years, after worshipping a cat in Egypt, its popularity increased again. Cats began to be used as models for their paintings by Jean-Baptiste Simeon Chardin, Auguste Renoir, Claude Monet, Vincent van Gogh, and many others. In the literature, too, more and more plots appeared where the main characters were cats. There was even a whole trend in the literature.
Кот выступает то в роли такого насмешника, как у Гофмана.
The cat acts like a mocker, like a Hoffman's cat who laughs at his master. This is the everyday views of the cat more, and the whole mythology of cats in literature, which was inherited by Russian literature, went from Hoffman. There was, for example, such a romantic writer, Anton Pogorelsky, such Hoffman's fan, as we would say now. And he wrote the story, The Poppy Seed Cake Seller from Leopard, where the main character is a witch. And she's a cat. And she wants her niece to marry a cat. But the fact is that this cat is a werewolf. He acts then as a state advisor, while a man with a large bureaucratic rank, and only this girl sees that he's a black cat, a werewolf, and she does not want to marry him. Whatever one may say, the image of a cat could never escape from mysticism. But if in the Middle Ages people were frightened by the unpredictability and mysteriousness of these animals, then later these features, on the contrary, began to arouse particular interest and even reverence. New legends and stories about cats began to appear, one more mysterious than the other. Even in the 21st century, when the achievements of science explained much of phenomena that caused fear and faith in magic centuries ago, there is still a place for beliefs about feline superpowers.
Со мной случай произошел, когда я еще была ребенком у бабушки в деревне. Когда я сидела...
It happened to me when I was still a child with my grandmother in the village. I was at home. Grandma's cats led a semi-feral way of life, but in the house, they behaved perfectly. So the cat had to go out. The door was closed. I watched with interest what it would do. The cat looked at me, looked into my eyes, and said, meow. It literally asked me to open the door for it, which I did. That is, when cats need to ask us about something, they always find a way to do it. Cats deal with us at some deeper emotional level. They feel our mood very well. And when a cat, for example, jumps onto our lap, this cat controls you and your emotions at this moment. Cats really bind us to themselves emotionally.
В этот момент вами управляет вашими эмоциями. Кошки действительно нас к себе эмоционально привязывают.
Zoologists, chemists, physicists, and psychologists continue to investigate the phenomenon of cats' exposure to humans. But there's still no exact answers to all the questions so far.
Я думаю, что достаточно мистично выглядит.
I think it looks quite mystical how the cat knows when you're just walking towards the house. They're not worse than a dog, and maybe in their own way they just sit there and wait. Well, this is also at the level of intuition, so it can also be called mystical.
То есть то, что вполне можно назвать мистическим.
People who keep cats often notice that they can sit for a long time and look at one point as if they see someone. It's not uncommon for an animal to play with something or someone invisible.
Я думаю, что кошки действительно чувствуют это, не потому что вот я так думаю.
I think cats really feel something we can't feel. It's not just my opinion. There are many examples.
Скорее всего, источник.
They feel the source of the problem in the human body, as most likely the source of some kind of negative energy. They fall on this place and, treat it. But it is necessary that the cat has a very good, close contact with the owner, with the person. In the modern world, this is called felinotherapy. Proponents of such treatment are confident that a certain breed of cats treats a certain disease. For example, Angora, Persian, and Siberian cats are excellent neurologists. Persian cats treat osteochondrosis. Short hair and hairless cats specialize in diseases of the kidneys, liver, gastrointestinal tract. Siamese somehow, in the opinion of feline therapy adherents, kill germs, and that is why their owners suffer less from influenza and respiratory diseases. Felinotherapy is recognized by modern medicine as one of the methods of psycho-correction. Especially such communication helps children and teenagers, but the treatment of flu or kidney with cats, I'd rather believe that this is a placebo effect, but the fact that cats have been used in treatment since ancient times is undeniable. Cats have great energy and healing properties. It is very important. Now there is very little information about Baxi that used cats, but the tigers were used undoubtedly. And now in Chinese medicine, tigers are used in terms of treatment. Cats also played a big role in terms of psychophysiology, sedation, relaxation. Even if people were sick, sometimes cats could fix it. That is, nomads from antiquity understood the meaning of a cat as a carrier of these energies. The cat can take energy. The cat can bring positive energy. There are many bailichkas about the incredible ability of cats to cure diseases. The bailichka is a genre of folk art, the story of a person who himself or someone he knows was confronted with something inexplicable and otherworldly.
Если вернуться к быличкам,
If we talk about bailichkas, well, there is a story. One of my good friends who worked in his workshop, he's a sculptor, he accidentally had a heart attack, and so that he laid down and he could not even make a phone call to call emergency. And now the cat, which was in his workshop, lay on his chest and was there until the heart attack stopped. And so he still believes that the cat has saved his life. There are many superstitions about cats. Black cat crossing the road is ill luck. If the cat grooms on the doorstep, then you should wait for guests. Another sign says that if a street cat approaches you, then luck and money profit will certainly await you. There are hundreds and hundreds of meanings associated with cats in the dream books. Also, most people are confident that the cat can always find a way home. There were cases when a cat brought kittens to its home over great distances, or there were attempts to bring the cats somewhere, throw them out. For example, people brought them to some summer cottages and tried to leave them there. A cat overcame enormous distances, and it even managed to bring kittens to such distances. Now, cats live practically everywhere. Wherever we go, we will see these graceful animals. Once, French enthusiasts decided to calculate how many cats there are on Earth. After conducting complex mathematical calculations and comparing them with point surveys of people from different countries, they managed to establish that about 400 million cats live on the planet. And most of all, in the USA. Americans spend about $4 billion a year on cat food. When comparing, only $3 billion are spent on baby food.
Эта тема стало для меня одной из самых интересных. В ходе изучения мы увидели...
This topic has become one of the most interesting for me. During the course of the study, we saw how humankind's attitude to cat changed from love and respect to fear and extermination. Well, let's face it, today we are experiencing another boom of love for these cats. And I'm sure that it will decline soon. And not because we will cease to like these fluffy animals, but simply a cat will once again disappear with grace into the shadow of history just to rest from us.
Просто, чтобы отдохнуть от нас. Я зовут
My name is Andrei Slozhin. It was the Time Puzzle. See ya.